I'm Chris Williams, and I'm a results leader, and that is why you are here too. You're a freaking awesome results leader, so own this shit and get it done.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
You are listening to the only show on the internet dedicated to the men and women who are getting results for their clients. Welcome to another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. Stoked that you're here, and I'm going to reward you. How? With another amazing interview. Today, Mr. Chris Williams from Group Coach Nation comes to share what results mean, how to get results, how to learn from failure, and how to keep growing. Let's jump in. Chris, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
JR, I'm so excited. All you fans of JR, man, right place, right time.
I love it. I love it. So let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
The 4 Hour Work Week, beyond a doubt. That book changed my life. I thought it was full of like BS right from the beginning. You know, Tim Ferriss, marketing, blah, blah, blah. But oh my gosh, that book took me from 16-hour days down to 4-hour days in 4 months and quadrupled my income. Just doing literally what it said to do.
All right. So
Tim, if you're listening, huge shout out. Killer ideas.
It's been a long time since anybody talks about the 4-hour work week. And that's the reason why I'm here. I wanted mini retirements as soon as I read it. So I've worked to build that. But how did you lessen your workload and increase your income? Can you give us like an example?
Oh, yeah, totally. So I was running a digital agency then, and we still own that digital agency. And by the way, now I probably spend an hour a week owning that digital agency because I just freaking did what he said to do. It's so easy. So I was running a digital agency, was doing so many things I shouldn't have been doing, wasn't delegating appropriate, didn't have enough systems in place, 16-hour days, in the middle of everything, micromanaging the heck out of stuff. And 4 months later, systems and some really intentional delegation and then accountability. So systems and delegation started getting my time back. But the only reason I would do it is I think I was billing at a little over $400 an hour or something like that at that point. So I started paying, what was that, $6 a minute, something like that. I started paying my family, Jill, my wife, and 5 kids, $1 per person per minute that I walked in late any day. Late counted not being home, being on my phone, being on my computer, whatever. If they're in the kitchen when I walk in, $6 a minute for anybody who's standing there. I had to pay out twice. And every day I set a timer on my phone that would go off 20 minutes sooner. So every day I had to crunch my day by 20 minutes. So every 3 days I was saving an hour. And I did it. I freaking did it. And I just was like so determined to do it. And then we took a 5-week vacation, 4 months into it. And truly, thank you, Tim Ferriss, for laying out a good idea. I've heard so many people have read that book. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I got that book. But I don't know hardly anybody who's actually like freaking outlined the book and do what it says to do. It works.
I agree, man. Month-long ski trips thanks to Tim Ferriss. So I'm right there with you. So tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
Man, I would say most of my failures have been around not understanding my market. So we're entrepreneurs, right? Everybody listening in here, you guys get this. We're just starting and stopping stuff like crazy. And we think typically that we have a really great idea. And so we go out and we build a web page. We go on GoDaddy, we buy a couple of domains. You know how it is. Now we all have hundreds and thousands of those things. But the thing is, I've learned through those failures of like starting something, building a domain, getting a landing page up, telling my friends, oh my gosh, great idea, go do it. Nobody buys, crickets. Those failures finally caught up to me where I realized, okay, I'm going to do the grueling hard work of figuring out who is my market, what do they actually need, and solving a problem. That failure set has given me a lot of guidance and worth the pain.
How do you go about figuring out who the market is and those pain points?
Good question. So I do 3 things to figure out a market, and then I listen for pain points. So to figure out a market, I'm looking for what are my skills? Like what do I currently know how to do or could know how to do pretty quickly? What's my passion? Like what am I really interested in? Often those two kind of align because we have to get good at what we're passionate about because we want to spend our time on it. And then where are the opportunities? Like if I look back at the past year or coming up the next quarter, what opportunities do I kind of have already opened up that allow me to use my skills and my passion to serve a people group? That often is a good market. The only gut check is you got to make sure they actually can pay you. Not everybody in the market, but you got to make sure 20% of that market, a chunk of that market has resources. 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know, probably 9, 10 years ago, I started this brand called Get Startup Investors. I bought the .com from GoDaddy. Get Startup Investors. I owned an investment advisory firm, sold that in 2011. So I was like, I got this investment thing. I can teach startups how to find investors. It's going to be awesome. Built e-courses, recorded it all. It was beautiful. We spent, I don't know, 30, 40,000 bucks on ads, built the funnels, the whole thing. Nobody freaking bought it. And then I realized, oh, I know their needs. I know that market, but I forgot to just remember they're startup companies looking for investors. That by definition means they don't have money. Yeah. But it was one of those, I got a good idea. I got to go do it. And no, that's not the way to build a new business.
All right. So I hear you talking about the money part. Obviously, if they can't pay, what are you building? How do you listen for pain?
We do a lot of direct messaging. You can just send Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, DM people, whatever. Just, hey, I'm in the same group you're in. We're all here talking about coaching or being an author or starting a podcast or whatever. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to serve people in this market. What's going on? Like, what's working? What's not working? What keeps you up? I love this question. What's keeping you up at 2 a.m.? What are you worrying about on a Saturday morning at 11 instead of out at the park with your dog or your kid? When they answer those questions, oh, that's so good. You'll often hear them say, well, I'm trying to do X. That's their dream. But that's their drain or their doubt. Drains and doubts are like drains are external things, like what's keeping me from it. The economy, don't have enough money, not supported by my partner or whatever. Or doubts, like I'm too scared. I've tried too many times. I keep failing. What if it doesn't work? Those drains and doubts. So I'm looking for what's their dream and what's their drain and their doubt. If I can figure out a way to overcome the drain and the doubt and give them the next step in the dream, I know I got an opportunity. If that lines up with my skill set and my passion, golden.
Last piece of that. How do you figure out whether they have the money to pay or not before you get too far down that rabbit hole?
There's in the DMs. Oh, by the way, do you happen to have an extra 5K laying around, 10K? Yeah. No. So in most of the time in these markets, you can kind of gut check that. Like, who's in these markets? Let's pick authors, for instance. Most authors are broke if they're doing authorship as a source of income. All right. That's just the stats. But there are a lot of authors who have resources. I think authors are a great market. Most speakers are broke, but there are some that have resources. But like back to my startup investors thing, that by definition, the problem set I was solving meant they didn't have money. So you kind of got to think that through. If I was like, I probably wouldn't create an offer that was directly towards college students. I would create an offer that was helping college students that would attract them, but that was also meaningful to mom and dad. Because somebody's got to have the checkbook. It's probably not the 18-year-old. So you got to think through, if I'm going to serve college students, how do I make this appealing to them so they'll send the link to mom and dad and be like, I got to do this. And mom and dad have to be sold out also. So you get two audiences to impress there. You just got to think that through and think, okay, who am I catching their attention of? And then who is actually writing the check? And if they're the same person, awesome. If they're separate, make sure you're aware of that.
Speaking of writing checks, what would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
$2,500. I spent that on a consultant. His first name was Brian. This was probably 15 years ago when I was doing financial advisory work. And I paid $2,500 to have him help me for a day. We went to lunch that day. I had to buy his salad, even though, yeah. And he told me over, I don't remember anything else he said that entire day. But I was like so impressed with myself because we had built this financial advisory firm on referrals. We were crushing it. And we were doing a good job. And I was like, dude, we got this. He's like, cool. So how many referrals are you going to get in July? I was like, I don't know, but it works out, you know? He's like, man, if you don't have, are we allowed to cuss on this show?
Sure.
He's like, Chris, if you don't have a way to predictably generate on-profile leads, you don't have a business. You're just getting damn lucky. And I was like, say that one more time. So I'll say it again. If you don't have a way, dear listener, right now, if you don't have a way to predictably generate on-profile leads in your business, you don't have a business. You're just getting damn lucky. The luck will change. This is not a predictable rock we're floating around on in space. Have a way to control your lead flow. That's the lifeblood of your business.
That was worth every penny, wasn't it?
Absolutely. That changed so much for me. From that point on, I've spent so much time and money generating leads, and that's what's made us successful. Honestly, that's what's made us successful.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
New belief, behavior, or habit. I'm going to go personal on this side. It's having a therapist. I hired a therapist a while back. I've talked to 3 or 4 of them and done a couple of group therapy programs. Folks, if you got a broken leg, you go get help. If you get hit in a car wreck and you bang your head up, you go get help. If you get hit in life, you've made some great or bad choices, you've had some good or bad things done to you, go get the help you need. Get your head and your heart sorted out. That will make you so much happier as a human. It'll make you so much more successful as an entrepreneur because it gets the stuff out of the way so you can be free to run. So that's absolutely it.
How'd you figure that out, man? I mean, we're guys, we're the head of the family, we got egos. How do you say, all right, I need help? Because a lot of us are afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I'm definitely a guy, definitely got an ego. Head of the family's very questionable. So honestly, it was Jill, my wife. So I was at a point where I grew up in a really horrible home, really abusive home. And I was at a point where life was falling around me and like collapsing around me. And I was at the end. So I was desperate. And I remember telling Jill, I remember sitting like next to my side of the bed, just like, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm going to check out. I don't know how else to say that, but it's not worth it for me. Like I was going down the suicide path and I was open enough to talk to her about it. And she was like, will you please just go talk to somebody? Just, I get it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't work. Just go air this out. I was like, okay, but I'm not like looking to be committed somewhere, She's like, no, just go talk to a therapist. So I did. And within like 5 minutes, this therapist, his first name was Chuck. He was asking me questions. And within 5 minutes, he was like, tell me about your childhood. What's it like being you, growing up, whatever. I mentioned something about abuse and he was like, we need to park right there. I'm like, dude, that was 20 years ago, man. That's not now. He's like, no, that still impacts now. He helped me understand how real things impact today, even though they happened a long time ago. And it's not just about what happened to me. It's choices I made along the way too. There's goods and bads in all of us. And, I'm an ultra marathoner. I don't know what you do for fitness or workouts or whatever. I love running. I got a little IT band issue going on right now, working it out. Got a therapist help me some stretches. Why the heck would I not do that for my life? It's worth it.
Powerful. What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
I hear one that's kind of really annoying. Don't have a market niche. I hear that frequently. Well, I'll just be a generalist. Like I'm going to work with business owners. Awesome. Okay. So shoe store owners and podcasters, right? Okay. What are their common needs? What are their problems? What are their dreams? Well, they all want to make more money. Cool. Okay. So what advice are you going to give a shoe store owner and a podcaster? I don't know. Okay. So get a freaking niche. People try to be generalist. And I don't think there's a problem with working with, let's say, entrepreneurs who are digital entrepreneurs. So let's dial it in a little more and say digital entrepreneurs who are in marketing. Let's dial in a little more and say digital entrepreneurs who are in marketing who focus on organic versus paid sources. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All those different slices of our world, be it around business type, gender, race, religion, politics, affinities, hobbies, pet choices, relationship status, whatever. All those little things that we do as humans help us identify and feel comfortable with the group. They also help us, like, I know what your goal is because we're the same. I know what your pain points are because you're the same as me. Every time you can dig into the human heart a little deeper and make a deeper connection and honor who that person is for where they are, that helps you help them. It helps them know that you're the right person for them because they can resonate and say, oh, you only work with people like me. You get me. Yeah. And that's really powerful. So I'm just going to leave it with that one. The worst thing I hear is be a generalist. No. Know your person and let them know that you know them and let them feel that.
A lot of people get concerned about that because you went about 4 levels deep on that. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I know there's going to be enough people? There's going to be enough business. What do you say to those people?
Well, there's 8 billion of us floating around. So if you can slice and dice this thing up a little bit, I promise it's going to be okay. And here's the way I think about it. Let's say I've got I want to work for 20 more years, just picking a number, 5 more years, 50 years. and I want to work with 100 people a year. Or I want to go big. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to work with 10,000 freaking people a year for the next 20 years. That gives me 200,000 clients in the next 20 years, right? Cool. That's a pretty tiny slice of the population. There are 200,000 entrepreneurs, business owners, digital marketers in the organic space on LinkedIn right now. There's 200,000 of them. I'm sure of that. That's easy. So go pick your market. You're not going to run out of people. Chances are you won't be doing the same thing 5 years from now anyway. Let's just be honest. We're entrepreneurs, so roll with it.
Ain't that the truth? We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. Hashtag resultsleaderfm. Now let's jump back into the interview. So let's talk about results. Why do results matter, Chris?
It's the way you measure. I, in some ways, don't really like measuring everything. I measure my nutrition on a phone app. I measure my running on Strava. I measure my results on Go High Level, the software we use on our CRM stuff. But those measurements, even though they're kind of annoying and kind of feel stressful, they let me and my team know, are we doing the right inputs to get the right outcomes? And we're always looking for an outcome that we can directly link back to a series of events. And if we go down a path where we start doing events where we can't measure, then we typically back off that event, that thing that we're doing that takes our time or our resources, and we go after something that's more measurable. The vagaries around that are things like PR. We have people help us with our PR. It's hard to measure PR, but over time you can see it makes a difference. But we're looking for like, okay, but sales are coming in and people are just saying, well, I heard you on this podcast or on this, saw you in this article on this big publication or whatever. Awesome. That meant the PR worked. We're just looking for confirmation that something works. You walk into a bar, you have the same stupid, stale pickup line. Eventually you're going to realize this ain't working. And you might come back to, hey, I'm just going to walk in the bar and meet new people and be cool, be chill. And wow, you start making friends. Okay. Measure it, like own it. Call the bad one a bad call and go with what works.
How do you know though, like what's the timeline for that confirmation? Is there, I mean, how do we know if we're doing the wrong thing too long?
Yeah, that's a super good question. So when you're first starting out in a new project, offering business, market, whatever, the shorter the timeline, the better. Like I'm looking for things where I'm like, okay, we do this week, and within a week or two, I can see that we got farther in the conversation. We got booked sales calls. We got people on landing pages, whatever we're trying to do. That's within like a week or two of the first offer. Over time, we've been doing this Group Coach Nation thing, teaching experts how to build masterminds for a while now. Over time, like I know all the short-term things that work now for us, and we have these long games that are in play. But I keep measuring the short-term stuff. And once that's successful and I can be cash flow positive and sustainable there, then you move to medium-term stuff. That way you can like, okay, we're going to do this. It might take 3 months to find out. That's okay. Because we can make a living for the next 3 months and not worry about that, and then measure. And we have the resources to be wrong and say, ooh, that was a tough 3 months. No worries. We still were making it with the short-term winnables. Is that helpful?
Super helpful.
We already got killer good questions, man. This is fun.
So let's talk about your business. What area of your business would you like better results?
Then I think I would say that's a really good question. We're on a mission here at Group Coach Nation to just impact a lot of people who aren't our clients. So what I mean by that is our clients are building high ticket, really profitable group coaching programs, masterminds, those kind of things. But I want to measure, and this is something I've struggled with. My team and I talk about this once a quarter. We're always trying to figure out how do we measure who our clients are working for, who's in their masterminds, who's in their group coaching programs, because that truly, it's easy for us to say, hey, people come in our world and they make money and they build groups. I can measure that. It's hard for us to say, now what happens in their groups? Because I think the real power of what we do as coaches and consultants, anybody who leads a community, is not just what we see in the community, It's the people they're impacting. Are we empowering others to empower others? That second, third, fourth generation is really what changes the world. And I struggle to measure that. And that's the thing I wish I could do better. I want to put in a system or a software or something. It's just impossible, right? So we're always sending surveys out, asking people, how'd your group go? What were their results? But it's messy. And I wish I could have this tree that was kind of growing organically on our website. It was constantly getting fed into from lots of data sources where people could like look at it and be like, okay, here's Group Coach Nation. Here's the 100 people that helped this year. And here's the like 20 bazillion thousand that, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. That's the same thing that we go through. We're helping the people that we work with the podcast, but what's the impact on the listener? And so sometimes I tell my team, you want to see what we're doing, go read the reviews for the shows and get uplifted when you know that we're empowering these people to change lives. But I really want to know the third, fourth effect, the families that we're helping, the lives that we're changing. But I don't know. Maybe one day we'll figure it out, right?
I hope so. And people like you guys helping people like me, like our show, we just hit my team member just told me today, Olivia, she said, we hit a top 10 list. I was like, super cool. What was the list? She's like, I don't know. Somebody just said, congrats on a top 10 list. I'm like, what was it, like BuzzFeed's top 10 worst podcast? Like, what was it? Like, that's probably what it was. No one knows. So people like you who do this for a living, like I don't know anything about podcasting. I just show up and talk, right? I'm a camera hog. But people like you help us reach an audience. But your real impact, honestly, is not getting people like me on a top 10 list. It's truly all the other feedback we get that's helping people. Like I wish our comments and reviews went like automatically straight to your inbox, because it's because of you and people like you helping people in the industry with a voice know how to get it out there. So thanks to you. If that's any feedback, thanks to you.
What results are you most proud of?
And I hesitate to say this, dude. I got 5 kids and I love them. And I think they like me.
I hope so.
Yeah. If any of y'all listen to this, so sorry. Why are you listening? Y'all know this is boring. But I like really, that's the stuff that I think when it comes down to at the end of our day, like the end of today when we're recording this, I don't remember what I did yesterday, dude, for work, but I remember seeing my kids last night. And that's the stuff I'm really doing this for,
Bro, you and me both. I'm trying to be there for my kid, put him in my schedule and make them memories because it goes by too quickly.
Well, it does.
Any parting thoughts you'd like to share with the results leaders who are tuned into us right now?
Yeah, look in the mirror. I would say just give yourself a good, strong look in the mirror of your business, your personal life, whatever it is. And just sit down and make notes. What's working, what's not, and what are you unsure of? Okay, let's put those in 3 categories. What's working if you know, okay, this process, this marketing thing, this outreach, this product or service, whatever. If this is working, own it, say it. Great, check boxes. What's not working? Like, own it, say it. If you're unsure, I don't know if this is or not, can't figure out how to measure it, either figure out how to measure it and push it to working or not working, or don't do it. But if it's on the not working side, like make a decision. Is this the right thing? Did you get excited about it? Did you buy it at a conference? Did you what are you doing? Is it the right thing or not? Make a decision. Pick 3 things that you know are either working that you're going to get just totally awesome at, or that like, I got 2 things that are working and here's one that's not working, but I know can work for us. Like make a wise choice and own that thing. And for the next 90 days, fix it, figure it out, do it. So look in the mirror, be super honest, and then take very intentional action.
All right, brother. I know our listeners are going to want more. Where can they get more? And make sure to include your podcast because these are podcast listeners.
Yeah, so go to Group Coach, just Google Group Coach Nation. My name is Chris Williams. Group Coach Nation is where you can find .com is where you can find all of the stuff about building masterminds. Our podcast is the Group Coach Nation podcast. And obviously for this podcast right here that you're playing right now, subscribe, leave a review. You know what helps podcasters like us is your 5-star reviews are awesome. But leave that comment in there and then subscribe. Those things boost the algorithm. I know if you're not a podcast, you don't get it, but those things really help the messages that we speak get out to people like you. And so leave JR an awesome review. You're listening to the guy. Obviously, he's genius. You wouldn't be here if he wasn't.
Too kind. We've been speaking to Mr. Chris Williams. Thank you for being with us. And thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. Another episode is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of Results Leader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to resultsleader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.